Number 1, spam command Valak. And by spam, I mean spam it. So during the power within, which is part of our 5-set sigil, we have 6 seconds of free occult skills casting, and command Valak is an occult skill, so we can just spam cast this. Now every time you cast it, you reset your overpower to 7, you increase your wrath regeneration to 375% for 10 seconds, and you get 8% of fortify. Now because it's free to cast, we can just keep casting it over and over, and it will stack up our fortify, keeping us alive much longer and having effectively infinite sustain throughout a fight. Now, the reason I can even suggest this is because while you are spam casting Command Valak, you can also continue to cast Umbral Chains and Apocalypse. Now, this is not the same for everything. Sigil of Subversion, which is also free to cast throughout Power Within, you can't cast that at the same time as other things. So you can triple cast that to get your stacks up, but then you have to wait till it's done before you can actually start casting Umbral Chains. You can't do both. With Command Valak, you can hold down this button, it will reset the stack continually, as well as continue to cast Umbral Chains, so it's no DPS loss. And I'll show that to you here now. I'll get a Power Within going and move back a little bit so that you can see I'm continuing to cast it. I now have it. I'm casting it as well as Umbral Chains at the same time, right? So you can see it's continuing to reset, as well as I'm casting out Apocalypse and Umbral. So it's a DPS loss not to be casting this, because you're resetting your overpower. You're losing a lot of life sustain by not spamming it and filling up. Like I'm full now on Fortify instantly, basically. So yeah, make sure you are spamming. Number 2, Bombardment is very important for this build. Now, Bombardment is the only skill in my bar that is not an occult skill, and so by not having an occult skill there, I lose 14% damage. However, on the Paragon board, we have 2 very big multipliers that require demons. So we need to cast 7 demons to get the 105% here. And we also need to cast 40 demons to get the maximum 120% damage from demonic spickles. Now, the 7 is not that hard. You can click once on Bombardment, you get up to the 7. And you may think, getting to 40 every time I fight some creatures, that's going to take some time, isn't it? But as you can see, it's why I have Vayana here as an example. Every time one of my demons dies, I get a stack, which is the equivalent of a demon doing damage to an enemy if there are enemies nearby. You will see how quickly I get to 40 stacks here from just a couple of casts. So it's 1, 2, 3 stacks, and within a second or two, I'm at 40. So I'm at that maximum 120% damage, which by the way will be permanent on that enemy afterwards. So Bombardment is very important, as well as it also increases stacks on Apocalypse passively. So what I mean by that is that every time I cast it, if I cast 2 here, right, you can see the stacks on Apocalypse are going up very quickly. I haven't cast it now for 4 or 5 seconds, and it still is going up even now, 30, 40, 50. So why that is important is that you can double up by casting a couple of bombardments and then spamming Umbral Chains, and you will just double up on the stacks. You'll be casting Apocalypse so quick because you're getting stacks built up on Apocalypse from Bombardment constantly going up, and also from your Umbral Chains. So for me, Bombardment is a must-have on our board. Number 3, the Mephis set. Now, I get this question a lot of why don't I use the Mephis set here for the extra damage. And as you can see, some people on the leaderboard are actually using it. There's a guy at the number 6th place who also has a Apocalypse build, and he is using the Mephis set. And I get a lot of people asking. The reason is it doesn't add damage. I've tested this a lot, and the best way I can prove that to you is, as you can see, I've built up to 99 stacks. So the Mephis set is every time a demon dies or takes damage, you gain a stack of sadism for 20 seconds. So now it says you can deal up to 200% more damage. So how that would read is that you should, every stack, get 2% extra damage. However, it's not true. It says there that based on the damage that enemies have done to your demons. My enemies do not do any damage to my demons. I kill my demons. That's why I build up stacks of sadism, but no demons are taking any damage from the enemies. I don't have any demons to do that. And the best way to prove that to you, that it's not doing any damage regardless of the stacks, is I have 97 stacks here. You can see I'll let it go down to 96, but 96 stacks, right? You can see my Hellfire, my Apocalypse, sorry, is 28 million. If I take this off and break the set, I'm still at 28 million, right? So I don't have 100 stacks, I don't have 90 something stacks, it didn't change anything. However, if I just even go in here and take off this 5% damage, right? 2827, take off that, 28.0 now. So damage does impact this. This is only a 5% additive damage that impacted it, but taking off that set did nothing. So the Memphis set unfortunately doesn't work, doesn't do anything for us. Number 4, Apocalypse is a shotgun build. You're meant to be right up close to the face of the enemy and launching nukes in his face, right? Yes, don't get misled by the fact that it has, if you build it up to 100 stacks, it has screen-wide clear. That is irrelevant, especially for Season 14, where our best weapon is the Scepter of the Three, and we build up 20 stacks, and then we do an ultimate. The stacks will drop after 3 seconds, sometimes up to 10 seconds, of not casting an ultimate. So you want to be casting an ultimate as often as possible to keep those 20 stacks. You can't wait for it to build up to 100 stacks. You want it to be cast at 20 and often, just constantly casting Apocalypse. Now, the downside to doing that is the range is reduced on Apocalypse, because Apocalypse range and damage are increased per stack. Now, the damage is not affected too much because 5 20 stack Apocalypse is the same as 1 100 stack Apocalypse, and you can cast a lot of 20 stack Apocalypse in the same time as you can cast 1. However, the range is significantly reduced. So you have to be up close and personal. This is fine anyway, because we want to be close and personal, because Dark Prison enemies within are weakened, so they do significantly less damage, as well as the reason we use Godslayer Crown to pull everything in so that our smaller nukes, our smaller Apocalypse are not affected, not affecting how many enemies we kill. When we don't use Godslayer Crown, there'll be a lot of enemies around the edges that don't get killed. We pull them all in and nuke them down, right? So you want to be up close and personal and just right in their face. You don't want to be back here casting your Apocalypse, which could potentially miss them. You want to be right on top of them, casting it right into them. And this will also trigger and complete your sigil rituals quicker and give you faster power within, all sorts of pro benefits. So yeah, it's a shotgun build. Get right up in their face and kill them. Number 5, there is an important intelligence breakpoint to hit to ensure you get extra life, and that is 470 intelligence. Now, the reason I say that is because we often use the Fathomless board as the 5th board. The reason we do that is because a lot of the secondary node extra demonology, we don't care about those. So if we don't get the stats to hit those requirements, it's not that big a deal on this board. However, there is one that is important to hit, and that's this extra 4% life. Now, for this purposes, I've made the willpower lower, but generally it's the intelligence that is difficult to hit, and you want to make sure you get that 470. And the reason I say this is because you may be misled into thinking, even though I'm below it here, that because of the amulet giving casting a volatile empowered skill increases your core stats by 5%, so we increase all of our stats here, you would think, okay, in combat, that goes up and we meet the requirement. And that is true, it does trigger it. However, as you can see here, I have 53,979 life, and I'm not hitting the requirement over here. If I now cast a couple of skills, now I'm hitting the requirement for willpower. You can go on the board, you can see it, it says I'm hitting it, and I've triggered it, and I've got 8%. Come down here, 53,979. It didn't change. However, if I just put on this item which has extra willpower on it, and hit the, so the base amount now hits 54,988. So you have to hit it before the increase from the amulet. So you want to get 470 intelligence. Slightly less important is the 490 intelligence. And of course the willpower, but usually the willpower is easy to hit. It's the intelligence that's not. Try to get to that breakpoint so you get it, and it has to be before the amulet buff. Number 6, for Transfiguration, you're aiming to get fire damage. Fire damage are individual multipliers. They don't get lumped in together with our other multipliers, like critical strike damage. All of those are lumped together. All the vulnerables are lumped together. All damage and say our gems, the fire damage multipliers, they lump together and then they're all multiplied against each other. Fire damage on the weapon, as you can see here, 25%, or on my helm, 11%. Those are individual multipliers. They don't even get grouped together. They're just a straight up 25% extra damage. So you want to get those on your items. And if you can't, you want to try to get attack speed as a secondary option. Of course, you can't always make this happen, but we do have a good way with the Scepter of the Three. Now, the Scepter of the Three, that's the place where we get the largest one, and because it's a mythic, you get the maximum amount. So my advice here is to be crafting Scepter of the Threes. It's very easy to get the ideal stats, which would be weapon damage, willpower, max, and crit. It already has weapon damage and max life. You just want one of the others to be willpower or crit, and often you get the willpower and you change over the extra stat, as I did here, to crit strike damage. And then you want to be just taking the chance with the upgrading it, take the chance with transfiguration. There's only 3 two-handed weapons that can be created. So we have a pretty good chance of getting a Scepter of the Three. This, I think, took me 20 crafts to get the one that would then end up having fire damage on it. So it is something to aim for, and it's the easiest way out of all of our items to get the ideal transfiguration, compared to, say, something as helm. There's 10 helms, there's 9 gloves. It's hard to get those and then try to get fire. You see, I still don't have a fire one on it, but the weapon, aim for that one first. It's very important, and it's a big damage increase. Number 7, avoid moving or doing anything other than casting Apocalypse during the Power Within buff from our 5-set bonus. This is because the Power Within buff is a 400% damage increase, and it lasts for 6 seconds, and you want to be just spamming Apocalypse during that time because it's hugely increased damage. Now, of course, sometimes you have to move, or you might have to nether step, but if you're quite clever about it, you can make sure you've nether stepped outside of the Power Within buff. So just as the Power Within comes in, you have your damage reduction, so you don't have to worry so much about standing in electricity or whatever. You can just stand and bang, basically. You can launch nukes in their face. What I do like to do is triple cast my Hex straight away as soon as Power Within starts, because I can cast it for free. So I make sure whatever I'm fighting, I've either reset the stack back up to 60, or I'm casting it up to 60s, which for me will give me a 100% crit chance on them. That takes you half a second, triple cast it, and then just Apocalypse, and just go for it. Don't be moving around. Try to do all your positioning outside of the Power Within. It's just a big damage loss to be doing anything else, really. Number 8, attack speed double dips and is the most important stat we have. I covered this in our last video and the build guide that I put out, and so I'll go over it again. I don't want to assume that you've seen the video. So attack speed for us, the difference between 20% attack speed and 90% attack speed from my testing is we get about double the amount of Apocalypse casts at the same strength. So it's essentially there we've already just doubled the damage by making sure we go from 20 to 90, right? But it even goes further, and that's why I said it double dips, is because we get the Power Within buff by completing sigil rituals, right? So what I found is that when we're on 90% attack speed, I had Power Within for 6 seconds, and then I had a 2.5 second downtime where I didn't have the Power Within 400% damage buff. I just had the 100 to 200% buff, right? 2.5 seconds, and then the next Power Within. When I was on 20% attack speed, I was having 6 or 7 seconds downtime between Power Within buffs. So I was losing a lot of damage there. So what this means is that I was casting twice as many Apocalypse with 90% attack speed, as well as more of those Apocalypse were within the 400% damage range. So it was double dipping. So you'd want to stack up attack speed, and you definitely don't want less than 70-80% attack speed. Number 9, Occult is better than Hellfire. And why I say that is because on the charms, we have the choice of having a plus Occult skills or plus Hellfire. Now for Apocalypse, that doesn't matter. We can have both or either. It's an Occult and a Hellfire skill, but there is one place where Occult is better, and I did cover this in the last video, so thanks for listening if you've gone through that before. But it's because the Command Valak is now an Occult skill in Season 14, and you can see here the Wrath regeneration is 375%. When I take off this plus Occult, it drops down to 340%. Nothing else changes. The Fortify amount and the Overpower amount won't change, but just the Wrath regeneration. So it is slightly better to get the Occult over the Hellfire, so then we get much more Wrath regeneration. That's even more important if you decide to use the Lucian Helm. I don't use it. I'd prefer the Godslayer Crown, but it is a viable damage increase to use the Lucian, and you want as much Wrath regeneration for that helmet as possible. Number 10 is a tip for the tower. You want to wait out the 10 seconds at the start of every tower so that you can generate as many wolves as possible from your runes. You want as many wolves as possible because they build up the stacks on your Scepter of the Three to 20 much quicker than if you don't have the wolves. So you want to go into combat with at least 3, because you can't cast your ultimate and start the whole chain of damage and heal without having 20 stacks. And then once you've got those 20, you want to maintain them for the whole run. So for example here, because I have a demon, I'll generate 1 wolf, and I'm just sitting around waiting. It's only 10 seconds. I cast a couple of bombardments to get them going and occult, and you can see I have 3 wolves, and I can start casting. I cast my Dark Prison to just make sure I don't take much damage. I'm already at 20 stacks, and so then I can start spamming my Apocalypse and get going in that way. So wait out the 10 seconds at the start. Don't just jump straight into combat. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I look forward to seeing more Apocalypse on the leaderboard. We're already starting to see a few, and that's quite exciting. So yeah, give them a go, and let me know what you think. If you have any other questions, or if you have any sort of small things that maybe I might not have picked up on, please feel free to write a comment. People that have seen my videos know I'm very active with replying to the comments and answering any questions, so feel free to go about that. There are a few things that I'm going to be putting out very soon. People have been asking me for a loot filter. I will be doing that, even though it's, I update my loot filter daily, so it's a bit tough. And yeah, they want to know breakpoints for attack speed and things like this. I will be doing more videos on those in the future, as well as a visual clutter video between Season 13 and Season 14.